Showbiz with Lee Drew on 97.7 FM.
And now for one of the few popular Australian female performers, Marcia Hines and You.
There's that great voice, you can't mistake it, can you? A wonderful lady. I first interviewed my next guest over 4 decades ago. I was working in Warragul in those days at a station called 3UL, now 3GG. And Marcia Hines was doing a tour, and I think it was right at the stage where she released her first album in 1975 called Marcia Shines, but I'm sure she's going to correct me on that if it's wrong. She's released over 22 albums, sold 2.6 million copies. She continued for countless years to be chart-topping. She had multi-winning singles, multi-platinum records. She moved to Australia from Boston from, the age of 16. That's incredible. She actually put her age up, I believe, lied about her age. She came out here and starred in Hair. Who didn't see Hair in our era? I'm going to say, wasn't that something? And this is the lady who was in that. She went on to Jesus Christ Superstar. She was on, of course, Australian Idol. She judged there 7 consecutive years. And I think from memory, she was the only judge that was consecutively employed like that over those years. Others came and went, and she stayed. She received the Order of Australia back in 2009, and my guest is the legendary lady herself, the Queen of Pop, Marcia Hines. Marcia Hines, it's a very good afternoon to you.
Well, thank you, Lee. How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well.
Good.
You won't remember 40 years back, but I do remember that interview with you at 3UL. You were doing a tour, and you were performing up in Gippsland.
Well, you know what they say, if you remember the 70s, you weren't really there.
I've got some comments I could make about that, about both of us, but I'm not going to say anything.
No.
I'm not going to. So you promise you won't blubber on me?
I promise.
All right. Well, mum's the word, as they say in in showbiz, don't they? Mum's the word. Hey, can I mention something to you first of all before we get on to Velvet? Mm-hmm. I see that you were the cousin of former State Secretary in the US, Colin Powell.
Correct.
Gee, there's some history and all of that, isn't there?
Yeah, well, you can't choose your relatives, but he happens to be one. And one that we're terribly proud of it in our family. Yeah.
But you must be, yes. What a man! I mean to say, he is really a statesman, isn't he?
Yeah, because at one point they did consider him running for president, and the family all went, nah. And the person who really talked him out of it was his wife, and I have to agree.
You have to agree, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, he probably gets more respect now for what his achievements have been instead of being a president where, you're always brilliant, but then in hindsight, nobody wants to know about you.
Yeah, well, you're quite right. You get the knocks, don't you? And they don't.
Do.
But what a lovely, lovely man. When I read that a few days ago, I thought, boy, what a great man. And I think so many people around the world would look up to this guy.
Yes, absolutely, and still do.
Tell us about Velvet now. It's premiering in Melbourne on the 23rd of March, so it's only just around the corner, quite a limited season coming up. But it had its advent, I suppose, in Adelaide at the Fringe Festival over there. Mm-hmm. You went on to Brisbane and so on. Now we're coming into Melbourne. Quite raunchy at times. It's full of acrobats. Look, I'm not going to spoil it. You tell me about Velvet.
All right. So look, it's based loosely on Studio 54, in which a young man sort of walks into a club, and there are all these very unusual things happening. And at this point in time, his name is Brendan McLean, and he doesn't quite know who he is or what he wants to do with himself. And through some of the experiences that he and the people he encounters on stage, he actually finds himself at the end of the show, which is lovely. And it becomes a celebration, yeah.
It looks magical to me. There's so much going on in here. It's a bit saucy at times from what I've read. But you've got this wonderful burlesque feel. It's I suppose, the discotheque of the years of the 70s and so on that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. And it all comes together in this wonderful, wonderful show.
Yeah, and look, we started in a rehearsal space in Sydney that we didn't even have a stage in, and that's how our rehearsal started. And and of course, as from performers' point of view, when everyone performed, each of us performed, everybody applauded and encouraged. But that's one thing. And then when you take it in front of an audience and they actually respond in the way the director had wanted, it's a very special feeling. And not only did we do Brisbane and Adelaide, well, we won the award for the best show from the Fringe last year.
Congratulations.
But we actually took the show to Edinburgh as well.
Wonderful. And what an experience Edinburgh must have been.
Yes, it was very interesting because, I don't have a history there. And so, I had to really work for my money, you had to sing for my supper, and it was wonderful. And the audiences there were just great. They, so far, have been the most boisterous and the people who got up and danced the most.
You wait till you get into Melbourne.
Okay, you need to know, Lee. I'm looking forward to that.
You wait. We can turn it on for you. We can turn it on. We really can.
Please do. Please do.
We'll try and be more boisterous than what they were in Edinburgh.
Okay.
Yeah, we really will.
I'll hold you to it.
At the age of 16, I mentioned at the intro, you came out from Boston at the age of 16. Was that purely to do hair, or did you have other things on your mind?
Oh, no, specifically to do hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, specifically. I auditioned in Boston,
yep.
And then I got the part, and before I knew it, I was on a plane to Australia.
So what age did you have to tell the Aussies that you were?
Well, I should have been 18.
Uh-huh.
And I'm the youngest person to have ever done it. So
Yes, I
16.
noticed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what an experience. Hair played for so long. What an experience for a 16-year-old young girl.
Yeah, I'd seen it already in Boston because some friends of mine were in it in Boston and tried to talk me into doing it in Boston. And I went, nah, when it's closed, I'll still be stuck in Boston. I want to do something else. And lo and behold, the auditions came up to do it in Australia. And so, I lucked out in that one. And it was a great experience. I just... needless to say, Australia was very different then to what it is now, and it was very different to what I'd, grown to know, which was Boston or the United States.
Yes.
So, but it was great. It was, very welcoming and very nice. And
I think
we were in a show that was the toast of the country. So,
yes, I think hair was really ahead of its time in many respects, wasn't it?
Yes,
Sexually as well.
I agree.
We had the sexual revolution in the 60s and 70s, but
Yes.
we hadn't seen anything quite like this on stage, except for Boys in the Band, which had preceded
that was
it.
great too. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful show. Yeah, still around too. It's a really, really good show. Tell me about your TV days. Now, starring as Australian Idol there, the judge, you were the kind judge, and you became a mentor to so many of those youngsters. How did that feel to be so important to them?
At first, I have to be very honest, it was a really hard job for me because to criticize solo performance is not really what you want to do,
Yeah.
And I had to talk to a lot of people that sort of try and wrap my head around how to do it and do it properly. And there but for the grace of God go I, because all they wanted to be and do is exactly what I do for a living. They just wanted to sing and make music for a living. So the kind thing, they say that I was the kind judge. No, I was a judge who was actually a musician.
Yes.
And so I understood exactly how they felt. And although, it looks like you're receiving information when 3 people or 4 people are talking to you about how good or how bad your performance was, you tend to, you're not receiving that information. I don't care what anybody says. And so I figure if you're going to get information from anybody, it should be positive and something that's productive. And then perhaps you can hear when it's coming at you.
Marcia, I watched many of the shows. I perhaps missed an episode here and there, but most of them I did watch. I've got a great interest in music and the arts in general. And you did work with some judges, no names mentioned, but some judges there that I really thought were a little bit off the target. And
cruel.
It was
off the target.
cruel. Yeah, it was cruel. It was a real put down. And you'd try and calm those judges down at times, and then you take over. But it was just a cruelness, and it must be hard being a performer. You're on telly there, and you're doing the best you possibly can.
And, and pluck from obscurity, Lee,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everybody's telling you what you could and can't do and how much better you could do it, and you think you're doing the best you can. But that's where, when it comes to being a performer, you have to listen to people who mean you well.
Yes, exactly right. And your personality came across that way and your experience. And we got a lot from you. I teach music and I teach piano and singing. And I got a lot out of what you were saying. And I thought, yes, for people that I teach myself, I can see that they would be really knocked down by X, Y, and Z. Whereas here's this lovely lady who was just so much on the positive.
Yeah, but I mean, you'll receive positive. You're not going to receive negative, And also, if you give somebody something constructive they can walk away with,
yes,
then they will apply that and do. If they're clever, they will walk away and apply what it was you said.
What do you think of the talent shows we have on air now?
Very little.
Yeah, so do I.
Sorry, I don't watch them. It's too much like homework.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we've lost a lot of what can I say, finesse, I suppose, in there. We've lost that.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, and I will say unashamedly, I'm incredibly proud of the talent that we found for Australian Idol, and through Australian Idol, I should say. And I'm incredibly proud that we were the pioneers of that type of a show.
Yes.
So, and we meant well, even though sometimes the judges said stuff, the other guy said stuff that just wasn't uncool. It was totally uncool, but in their own strange way, they thought they were doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, that's very, very true too. I think what we do miss in Australia, and you've been here for so long, you know what I'm talking about, is the grand days of the live variety TV shows, such as Don Lane, Bert Newton, and Graham Kennedy.
Amen.
We miss it. Where do you get your start these days?
Well, I don't know. So you put a show together like Velvet, I suppose.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
And people will always go where they can be entertained.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. Theatre in Australia is looking very healthy, and that's a good thing, And I think it's important from a solo performer's point of view that when I do a show, you get value for money.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Velvet. It sounds and it reads very excitingly to me, and it's full of entertainment. There's so much in one show in here that if anyone misses this, I think they're going to miss something of a lifetime. I really, really do.
Oh, well, that's very kind. And just going to make sure you come and say hi, too.
Look, I'll be there and I'll come out and say hello to you. And perhaps I'll wear the flares of the 1970s when I interviewed you last time, eh? 1975 in Warrigal. I actually think it was 1976 I interviewed you.
Oh, was it?
But,
okay.
but the old memory's
like
not...
I said, you'd know better than me.
Well, we're very similar ages, so we're at about the same time.
Yeah,
Marcia, it's been a delight. I know you're very, very busy. You've got other interviews lined up. I'm going to let you go. But I do appreciate your time, and we'll come backstage and say hello to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. Bye-bye to you now.
Bye-bye.